and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, and for the last 38 years, I have been involved via media in educating and empowering my viewers. And I call them my because actually over the years, we become a family. I hear from you, I get comments from you, and I respond. And again, my commitment, and it's been since the very beginning, is to empower you, my viewer, to begin to make sound decisions for you and your family during these difficult times. Now, when I started this show, over 14 years ago with DATV here in Dayton, Ohio, but nationally had been involved many years before then, my commitment then was, despite everything, that we were going to be able to get through it all with good information. Just by way of background, for those of you that are newly listened in or don't know anything about this woman, well, this woman has been involved over 40 years as an economist, looking at the economy both in our country and in other countries, irrespective of how we do business, whether capitalism, which is profit-driven, remember that term, profit, socialism, which is the government helping and pitching in to do projects that would not be fundable under capitalism, and then you have communism, where everybody works for and benefits the government. So those are the three forms of the economy. And when I tell people I am an economist, international in terms of credentialing, it means that I have been trained, along with many other men and women globally, into understanding how economics and the allocation of resources and profit work. We're all schooled in the same principles. And what's interesting and ironic even is how people are able to come to so many different conclusions, although there is relative consistency on those conclusions at this time in history. Things are not good, period. That's not my opinion, as I had to tell a person not too long ago. They said, well, that's your opinion. I said, oh, wait, time out. If you have cancer and you go to an oncologist who is a specialist in cancer, it's a doctor who has gone on to become a specialist, and he tells you, based upon testing, that you have a pretty aggressive form of cancer. Are you going to tell that person, and just be open, well, that's just your opinion, that's just your opinion? That person is trained to be able to diagnose that condition, and your simplifying that hurts you, okay? The same thing in my field of economics, which is the allocation of goods and resources. I'm trained. We look at data. That's our driver. Data, information, not personal, individual experiences. Although they do give a good story, they can validate what we've been looking at. But from a planning perspective, we look at this information because it tells us a story. We go and look at history going back thousands of years, actually. That's how long they've been recording the allocation of goods and services. And we begin to see trends, and we come to certain basic conclusions. The top economists globally always work for presidents and advisors, and their scope is not personal. I tell people this all the time. It's not personal. It's the economy. Now, I don't care how political you want to be. Well, I voted for. At the end of the day, it had better be about the economy. Now, politics may determine who is going to advocate for specific economic agendas. Like in the case of our country, the assumption is that Republicans are going to be anti-tax, and that Democrats are going to be more populist, meaning more for the people. But as we can clearly see from the data, the Republicans are looking more and more like they like taxes because they support tariffs. And tariffs are nothing but taxes on your goods that you bring in from other countries. Right, the business pays the tax, they bump it up, they price it up, and you pay ultimately the tariff tax. Yeah, that has been amazing, the number of people that did not know that information. But thanks to the power of internet and education, and of course I've talked about it because I'm violently opposed to tariffs. I am, because it is patently unfair to tax people for goods and services they buy when they're already paying a ton in taxes. They pay their internal revenue tax, which is a governmental tax on your earnings. They pay state tax, they pay sales tax. The consumer in America is taxed to the wazoo, wing wang, can't do it. And why? Because the legislation allows, that's the politics. Okay? That's the politics. It is the legislation that allows these things to occur. So you look at the politics, but my focus in training is primarily on the economic status of a particular country, and it's all over the place. It's all over the place. But I will tell you this as a fact, an eternal fact even, money doth rule. People that don't have money don't have much. And that's most of the globe, by the way. 75% of the world has no money. So don't feel bad, because you have maybe not as much as you want, but based upon global data, you're doing pretty daggone good. For real. Even the poor in the United States of America have telephones, cell phones, multiple televisions, multiple shoes, multiple clothes, shop on Black Friday like it's like a Mac dog. Just go for it. This is America, the consumption capital of the world based on the data. Okay? Because it's a consumption economy, we are dependent. This country is dependent on the working people to sustain it by their buying power. Because as they buy goods and services, and now they're paying taxes on these goods and services, they not only are helping a narrow class of our society, the wealthy, the business owners, they are not the majority, at max 3 to 10%. That's not a lot, but they have the ability to set price, to set terms, and to extract surplus, what we call profit. Because at the end of the day, they're never going to pay you. When people tell me this, I'm just amazed. I'm not getting paid what I'm worth. If you were getting paid what you were worth, they wouldn't make profit. Now, how you like that? You think they're going to have you working and they're not going to make any money? I don't think so. So I just gave you the background because there is a wide gap in terms of what people know about my field, economists, finance, banking. We don't even know how to pay our bills. We don't even understand, as a nation, what it's like to have credit card debt, which is a relatively new phenomenon. Because credit card debt is debt. You owe the bank the money that you didn't have to buy what you wanted to buy. So if you don't have the money and you use the card and the bill comes due, viewers, you got to pay it. Well, I don't have the money to pay it. Get another job. I can't. I'm not able. Well, then subject yourself to the process known as debt collection, because it is a legitimate contract that you enter into. It is not random. They're going to come for their money. That little piece of paper with Ben Franklin's face on it, yeah, that thing. So I'm giving you a little bit of history because where we're going today in these next 2 shows that I've done is this is hard. What I'm going to share with you today is hard stuff. Hard. And if you're smart, you'll listen and you'll recognize she is not political. Don't drag me in that mud, because we elect them. Male, female, they're no animals, humans, U.S. citizens. We elect them to fulfill our will. Now, it may not look like that. I don't have anything to do with it, because I never said I was into politics. Because I don't understand how you can elect a person with an agenda and they're way over someplace else, doing whatever they want to do with whoever they want to do it with, and don't seem to have a sense of accountability until it's election time again, and then they run around and do flyers and raise money from rich people and do it again, and they do it again. And so I'm out. Like I tell people, I do exercise my constitutional right to vote. Yep, that's guaranteed. But I don't go deep, because I know at the end of the day, somebody better have an agenda that's going to provide the American citizenry with income, with the ability to do certain things as a working democracy. For example, a job. There's no legal requirement for anybody to give you a job. It is understood that you will work because they need you to work so that they can make profit, or else they're not going to be in business. This is over here. This is not other countries. Those are other systems. We're not talking about them today. Talking about us and what is coming down the pike and is in fact in operation right now, that I feel you need to know, because despite all of my research, the media is not telling you this. And you really do need to know this. This is important. This is more important than Christmas. This is more important than turkey. Gobble, gobble. This is more important than everything. Whew. I said it. This is important. And what is important that I'm talking about so important? Well, what if I told you that the United States is facing a famine? Yeah. And has been on that trajectory for some time. As you can see from the picture that is going to be, there it is, right there. You see all of that brown area covering our country? That is by way of satellite. And that brown is dead soil, meaning the soil has no productive capacity. Most of the United States is covered in brown from the sky, from space. If it had green, it meant it's growing and thriving. But as we can see, for the last decade, we have been dealing with a drought. I would not want to be a farmer, and I know how to farm, but I'm going to tell you something. Our dirt, our soil that plants must live on to grow is completely depleted. That's what the brown means. Drought. Not a daggone thing happening there. What are the implications? Well, for starters, when it was presented to me by one of my fellow scientists, who by training is a biologist, and we've been friends since we were children. We were lab partners, and we like to dissect stuff, and we like to grow stuff, and that's the way it was. So I depend on her for a lot of information of a real scientific basis, because I'm not making a statement that I cannot support. I am not the media, okay? I'm not. I'm an economist. I'm looking at data. I'm looking at information, and the fact that I have the biochemistry background I have is just a plus. because I really dig, because I'm not getting out here on a what? So when she shared this with me, and my comment was, why the heck are you just telling me this? I've been growing everything, storing, canning, trying to protect my soil because it's dead. In Ohio, the stuff is gunky and thick and clay, and I have to remediate all my dirt, which is put enhancers in it, nitrogen, Epsom salt, fish heads. Yeah, fish heads that you all throw away, except the Chinese don't, because they know the fish head has all the nutrients. Yeah, the fish has his mouth, eyes, ears. I mean, it's all in his head, not in his body. Okay? So, needless to say, when she shared this with me, I immediately said, I got to share it with my viewers because they have to know. I said, how long has this been going on? She said, well, at least a decade. I track it every day. I track hurricanes. I track all kinds. And I said, the whole country is brown. She said, yeah, not good. So, my question to you is, and I don't want to presume anything, if I didn't know it was this bad, did you know? Are you prepared? Are you looking at the political moves? Because you know what? I think they do know. I do. I think that this whole thing about SNAP, and in case you haven't been keeping up with it, SNAP is a federal program to provide resources so that people that are low income, also known as poor, a growing number I might add, can eat. You know, eating is fundamental. And if you look at economic history, you're going to find out that the absence of food to fill your belly will cause a revolution. If people are hungry and children are starving, you're asking for trouble. If you think I'm making it up in modern terms, look at what's happening in Gaza. How long you going to look at those pictures of those children? Looking like, I don't know what. Food will do it. Whether artificially done famines by dropping bombs and no way to grow anything and no water, that's artificially induced by airplanes dropping bombs, drones dropping bombs, boom, 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 boom. The folks can't eat, number one, and then secondly, they don't have any place to live. But the main thing is you can live anywhere if your tummy is full. If your tummy's not full, you're going to be a little bit pressed. Yeah. So, I'm looking at what's happening in all these war-torn areas because, again, by training, I'm expecting an outcome from starvation, which is we're not going to sit here like little squirrels on a stoop and wait for somebody to feel sorry for us. We're going to start throwing nuts and anything else we got in our possession at that person or persons or entity that's doing this to us. That, listeners, is perfectly normal. Remember, it all started with food. In the Garden of Eden, it was about food. Food got us in trouble. Here we are today. So I bring this to your attention so that you may become aware. Remember what I said, it's about awareness, not about how smart you are, how many degrees you have, many titles you have, even how much money you make, because money is nothing but a tree with a man's face printed on it and a denomination on all four corners. That is accepted as a basis for exchange or trade, which is I give you this, you give me that. Okay? So when I saw what was happening with the SNAP program in the United States, where effective November the 1st, per executive order, I don't even understand it. The Department of Ag was going to just shut it down. And 31 million people weren't going to have any cards to get any food. And I'm like, who does that? Are you not aware of consequences and outcomes when people cannot eat? Or maybe the deeper issue was, and this is totally speculative, so don't nail me to the cross. I'm just thinking out loud. Why would you cut off a food source and then say we don't have any money? Well, we just gave $40 billion to Argentina. Don't tell me we don't have any money. Somebody's running that press. So what is it? And it occurred to me, just randomly, maybe we cut the program off because we are anticipating an inability to be able to provide resources in the form of food distributed via Department of Agriculture and other sub-agencies. That concept came to me so randomly, meaning I wasn't thinking about it, but it happened, and then I said, oh my God, well, the Department of Agriculture is cutting back on a lot of stuff. And is it money driven or is it resource based? Is it possible that they already know this is happening and are preparing us for the worst? Or am I just being cray-cray? Well, when I looked at that map, and then I thought in the great state of Ohio, where I inhabit, live, reside, it was brown too, the whole state. Then I thought about a friend of mine who is into logistics and supply chain, and the fact that it was told to me that they were not buying corn, which is used, viewers, for sweetener. That's what high fructose is. It's not sugar from a cane. It's sweetener from corn syrup. Yeah. And by the way, it's not good for you at all. Period. Most of the problems we're having today have right up front high fructose, which comes from corn. So you want to look at corn producing states and look at how many of them are actively selling corn syrup, because that tells you their level of performance and productivity in the area of resources. Fructose, high fructose, is used in Coke, Mountain Dew, Pepsi, everybody. Look at the bottom, look at the ingredient label. You will see water, that's a whole nother story, and high fructose to make it taste sweet, and they'll have some kind of a citric, synthetic citrics to make it fizzy, and then some other junk flavoring to make you think that it's not a chemical, because it is. So they put flavoring in, so you say, oh, it's cherry. No, it isn't. It's fakery. It's not cherry. Or it's lemon. No, it isn't. The lemon population is not suffering from the consumption of lemon lime pop. Nope. But the fact that it was told to me that they had removed major corn producing farms in Ohio and Indiana, because when they did a site review, the corn looked weird. The roots weren't developed right. They were gnarled because they didn't have any nutrients in the soil, and a plant depends upon nutrients through its system of roots to get nourishment and to produce nice fat corn and corn syrup. Well, when that was told to me, confidentially of course, I said, well, if you've checked out all the spills that we've had in Ohio, chemical spills, with chemicals, synthetic chemicals, that cannot be destroyed. And they weaseled their way through the water system and through the soil. And they have killed, because they're a form of plastic, they have killed most of the minerals and nutrients in the soil. And I don't know what the heck else is in the soil that's killed it, but I can assure you that it is not organic. Bugs didn't do this. It's too widespread. But I will say to you, in my humble opinion, that the incursion of artificials into our soil has corrupted our soil, and has led to nasty soil, gunky, soil. And then your animals, they eliminate, well, they're eating stuff from the soil products. They're eating corn, they're eating other things, and it's in their system. And some of it's just straight out plastic they're finding in their system. I'm like, well, I would have to conclude that that stuff has reconstituted from its liquid form to something that's real weird and not sustainable to human life. So I'm not an alarmist, but I'm not stupid either. And I have to conclude that something is way off. First, because if you will look at the statistics, you will see that the fastest growing disease without a cure is diabetes. I'm not talking about juvenile diabetes, which you're born with. Your pancreas does not produce insulin, which is necessary for the cells to live. That's why you take insulin, because it's synthetic. It tries to fake the cell out. Is it working? Well, I don't know, but that's the process. So you have the fastest growing disease is diabetes. Children have it. Type 2. Out of control. Loss of limbs. Loss of eyesight. Loss of everything. You know what I think it comes from? Why the pancreas is not working right? It all goes back to your food. A doctor will tell you that. Well, you got to watch what you eat. You can't be eating all those carbs. You can't be eating all that high energy stuff. Well, I'm eating high energy because I don't have any. Yeah, okay? That's why I'm doing it. Well, you can't do that because you will die. I'm going to die anyway. That's from the voice of a baby boomer. Because they really don't. That's the problem with the healthcare system. Right there. Baby boomers. Man, I'm going to drink that wine. I'm going to drink that alcohol. I'm going to eat Doritos, and I'm going to eat everything else. Cheetos, Fritos, anything. Because I need a boost. So, it gets back down to what's happening in our dirt that's causing our country to look like that. I can't show you Europe and other countries because it's prohibited. We can only do satellite imagery from our country and on this side. But I can also tell you from the data I've looked at, they're not having a good day either. Oh my gosh. No, they're not having a good day either. Why? Because all life comes from the soil. Yeah. We live on this earth planet as human beings that need something derived from the soil to sustain us. Well, the Bible says He made us out of the dust, which is a residual of dirt. And it doesn't surprise me that we need things that come from the earth. Minerals, nutrition, everything. Important for our life force. We can't live otherwise. And I'm not trying to sound like some raving nut. I'm telling you science. Didn't you take science in high school? Or biology or chemistry or periodic tables? Or anything to let you know what this is all about? And that the earth is not some flat place that does nothing? It's busy, period. And let me tell you all something. Planet Earth is self-sustaining, meaning before we were here, it was still chugging along. And I'm sadly sorrowful to tell you that if we don't get our act together, it'll still be chugging along. Only we won't be in it. Yeah, that's a sobering truth. So with this information, I've already established, and not completely, I'm not finished researching this, because you know with scientists, we're going to nitpick forever. And I do know this, I am so strongly grateful for my wild-caught fish heads that I froze right before COVID. I froze a pile of them. I wasn't even thinking about this. I just knew that the fish you buy don't look right. You got to look at fish. I'm a farmer. You got to look at stuff. And if it doesn't look good, it doesn't feel right, you need to be concerned. And the reason they say wild caught is because they're caught in the ocean. That's a huge place. And those fish are vibrant and healthy looking. And I had a connect at that time that sent me all the wild-caught fish heads I could freeze. I wish I had a bigger freezer. I froze so many of them. Why? Not to eat them. I needed help with my soil to grow my greens and vegetables and eggplants and all my other greens because, sorry, in Ohio, southern Ohio, the dirt looks like clay and they won't grow. So I had to completely make my own dirt and then take care of them gently. I could not use tap water. That should tell you something. The plants I grew with tap water did not look anything like the plants I grew with distilled water, a water that had been left out to break down. Arsenic is in water, most water, and they use things to break it down. I don't want arsenic in my water. I don't drink the tap water. It's not that I think I'm going to turn into a frog, but heck, with technology today, who knows? But back to the subject at hand, which is, are we in a famine? And based upon my very preliminary information, which is my state, Indiana, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, the great state of Texas, New Mexico, everybody's covered in brown, which when you look at the code means drought. Yeah. And so I said, oh, the heck with this. Each man for his own, or each woman for her own. And I am busily, I might add, collecting the things that I'm going to have to do in the spring to have a healthy garden. And I'm going to suggest to everyone in the sound of my voice, particularly since the United States did not participate in the climate change conference, because we just thought that was just, well, I'm going to tell you something. Climate change is not your imagination. Climate change is real. And it's impacting on every state in the world. Really. Some better, but some clearly, like that map, worse. So we didn't go to climate change because we just think that's a bunch of hokey pokey. And I'm getting ready to tell you what hokey pokey looks like when you don't have clean water and you don't have soil that will produce healthy, vibrant herbs and plants that you can eat. Right. So what is my answer? Well, the modern day answer, zip it up quick, is to grow your own. And I'm not opposed to that. I've been growing my own for years. And that is because I don't trust the politicians to do what is right by us. My data suggests that they don't even care because they and their families are eating fat. But I got news for all you guys, and your families are eating fat. That cow that you ate, that super T-bone you chomped into, it's full of mess. Yeah. It's not healthy. The poor little cow, and they're all females, by the way, so that offends me. I'm not eating any cows. And you can say, what about chickens? Well, when you see a chicken that doesn't look like the rest of the chicken population, that's not a happy, healthy chicken. There's something wrong with that chicken. Okay? Obesity? Well, we know that obesity is not a healthy state. I don't care what any of you baby boomers, anybody else says about obesity. Obesity is not a healthy state. Insurance companies know. Ask them about how they rate you if you're over the chart. Why? Because they know that obesity will kill you. Yep, it will absolutely kill you. The cells are not going to put up with it. You're not just going to be big. You're going to be dead. So for many people today, since being big is better, well, I'm not going to argue with your choices. I don't argue with anybody about their choices. Even this information I'm giving you today, which says in most logical thinking and reasoning that we are in a bad state in terms of our soil and also in terms of our water. Because our aquifers, which is where water really comes from, in the earth, your water comes from aquifers in the earth, and many of them are totally horrible now. Yeah, bad in, bad out. But since so many people are good with it, like I tell the young people, well, if you're good with it, it's not my body, not my life, I'm good with it. Okay? I consider it a blessing. My God, 74 and doing my, look, I have nothing to say about what you do, but just know that you're not going to fight science. You're not. You're not. The human data is not subject to debate. No matter what your feel-good magazines, your internet stories, whatever you got going. The only thing I can suggest is that you get some healthy insurance, preferably group, because they don't underwrite you based on weight and height. Not that all of them do, but they look at all the other conditions that go along with that. And group does not. So if you got a good job, get yourself a ton of group insurance while you can. Because it's just a matter of time, tick-tock, when they're going to begin to look at group insurance. That's what you get on your job, okay, as risk. And so, well, all these big people buying insurance, well, because they don't qualify under regular risk underwriting. So, buy group and just slide as long as you can slide. Keep the job because you need your insurance. Okay? So these are some of the factual things that I like to look at and deal with when I'm talking to people so that they don't think, don't judge me. I'm like, I don't have to judge you because I'm not the one paying the burial bill. You do what works for you and have a good life, because that's getting increasingly hard to do in the economic system that we're under. Now let me take it a little bit deeper. Since we are in this drought, and since poor farmers are just getting beat up every kind of way, it's hard enough growing the food, but the machinery that you use to allow you to plant these, that's paying the bank. John Deere costs money, beautiful equipment, but you can't afford it, so you finance it. The grain and the things you use to grow, the seeds that you use to grow the food, that's not free. Then after the things sprout up, if they do, and if you're fortunate enough to have rain, didn't say flood, rain, now you got to get it to the market. And if the government's not buying, who is? Well, your private sector food companies. I'm just laying this out because this takes place every day. If they're not buying, then how are you getting rid of that stuff? You can't even get it harvested because they're getting rid of all the immigrants that are a problem. And as a sidebar, and I don't mean to be controversial, but maybe I am. Everybody in this country, other than the indigenous people that were already here and the slaves that were forced over here, everybody else came over here as immigrants. Everybody. You didn't roll in from Scotland and Ireland and France and England. Oh my God, England. And what kind of money did you bring over here? What did you do when you came to Rikers Island, or your great-great-grandparents with not a pot to tinkle in? What was that about? But now we're getting rid of all these people, and we got this pathetic soil, and who's going to harvest the crops? I'm just making an inquiry because I grow my own, although I don't grow corn, because corn is totally messed up thanks to your big genetic modified companies that want bigger, fatter corn on dead soil. So they bioengineer it, and lo and behold, inject some coloring in it to make it look alive because the stuff is dead. Eat a piece of corn today, and I challenge you to tell me what you think. For real, I challenge you, because that's some funny tasting corn. Oh, that corn's delicious. Clearly, you're not a country person, because you know that corn tastes very different. Doesn't melt in your mouth. You got to chew it a lot to get it to do anything, because it's hard being a genetically modified plant. It's hard living. Back to the drought. So what are you going to do? Well, I tell everyone, since you have internet, join a group that will teach you how to garden. They're all free, and everybody's in a group. I'm in a group. Why? Because I don't know everything. And there are people that are growing things bigger and better than me. And the information is free. You have to be in a group, though, and you have to be willing to do more than just get information. You have to be willing to do some things and share and become a part of that community. That is a very strong recommendation I make. Join a group. The second thing is that enjoy the benefits of YouTube, because if you want to grow anything, that's the go-to place. They have actual people that grow, show you, share their disasters when they've made disasters, disappointments, and you can learn, you can share, you can talk, And that is really what happens when you are in a survival mode. When you work as a team, everybody eats. If you try to be a lone ranger, which a segment of our society that will not change, I'm doing it my way. I don't need anybody's help. Well, I'm going to tell you, the world is not operating like that. Everybody's trying to help everybody else. Now you can say, but I know they want something. You want something, okay, for nothing. So grow up out of that and recognize that we're in a changing world and that this drought situation is not going to change. Learn some things. Learn how to get water out of the air. That technology is here now. You don't need rain to have water. They also have gadgets that will purify your water on an individual basis. I had a dear friend of mine give me one of those. And I was like, whoa, you're kidding me. And she said, oh no, you need this. I said, but I buy my water alkaline, it's sourced. And she said, and this is guaranteed. And I'm going to tell you something. And thank you, Marquita. I really appreciate that. I'm not kidding you. Thank you. That made a difference for me. To know that I could take my little bottle with its electronic parts and take it to the filthiest water out here. And it would be cleaned. And then I could drink it. 100% safe. That's impressive. That's a benefit of technology, a positive benefit that you can use. Now, and incidentally, you may not even want to go that fancy. There are people that are doing wholesale cleaning of water. California's tapping into it right now, desalinization with their governor, trying to make that happen. It's going to happen because we are not going to die. There are those of us who are committed to living and living good, fruitful lives and growing our own food that will be healthy. Now, I can't do anything about the air. I can't, because I don't know what the technology is, but I do know that it's coming, and it's probably not going to be over here. The technology will probably be birthed in India or China or one of those emerging fast-growing economies, because they got to have clean air to do what they're doing. And since China's not, quote, capitalistic, the government's going to make that happen. It's just a matter of time, okay? We don't have to play with them, but we won't benefit, because only team players get team benefits. Anybody with football and basketball, they'll tell you, oh no, it's a team. You got to play as a team. You got to win as a team. You lose as a team. But everybody plays ball. And so my exhortation to you is learn the art of ball playing and get off your pride. This pride thing and us thinking we can give people billions of dollars when we can't even feed our own people, that's the old school mindset. Well, I want to help people. Help yourself. Help your nation. Help your citizens. Help our children. What's wrong with that? Talking like a woman now. Yeah, I am, because women birth children. Sorry, I didn't make my body. Somebody bigger did. And therefore, I'm concerned about the quality of life of my grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and those to come, if we're even around. I don't even know. But the subject today was, are we in a famine? And my conclusion is, stop believing the liars. They'll put it on internet and let you see it for yourself. And then you can say, oh my God. Yeah. And now that you said, oh my God, get moving. Get the resources. Talk to people. Listen to people. Listen to people that don't sound like you, look like you, act like you, but are doing just fine. Don't be so quick to come to conclusions without complete information and data. And I say that because the data is now here. Even artificial intelligence. And it's got flaws and it's not always 100%. But go to ChatGPT and ask them a question and see what comes up, and ask them another question and see what comes up. So that you will not say, well, the money lady got on television and said that the United States of America is in a famine and that our dirt is dirt for real. No value. No help. We help ourselves. We play team ball. We listen to people that don't look like us. May not act like us. May not think like us. But we're all humans. And one thing about human beings is if you don't have food, you're not going to be around. You will experience hunger, your children hunger, your family hunger. Why? Because when given the evidence and the information, you chose to look the other way. And as I have maintained over the years, that if we don't learn how to work together and get over our ites, well, I don't like him because he's brown. I don't like her because she's gay. I don't like him because he's got does he have autism? No, get over all that. And recognize that we are quintessentially humans. And that we have a DNA that traces us all the way back to the beginning. Seriously, all the way back to the very beginning. We all share the commonality of our history as humans. So let's not miss the opportunity, okay, to do better and to do it now. Now, because we don't have it like that anymore. We don't have time to think about it. We got to put it in motion. That's why our young people, they're off the chain, and I'm with them. Be off the chain because you are going to inherit this mess. I'm so sorry, but that's where it is. So go for broke and do what you need to do, period. And I just want to conclude by saying that I welcome comments. You can always email me at michellegravesonline.com. You can go to my site. You can call me. You can give me your feedback. But the feedback I'm hoping to hear is that, you know what, I finally figured it out, and you're right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen for me and my family. Thank you all for being a part of my show today, for listening in, for having opinions, even if it doesn't agree with mine, but research it out before saying no. You take care. I'll talk to you very, very soon. And you have a great day and a blessed day. Absolutely. God is good. Bye-bye.